Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. Today we are here recording episode 105 and we are doing a Czech Republic recap with my good buddy David. But before we get to David, I have to say this episode is for all of you curious about what's been going on with myself and also David in the Czech Republic, what we've been learning, how we've changed during this time in the Czech Republic as well. So we're looking forward to it. And as always, I'm very excited for my good buddy Jared, his fantastic interview questions. So I'm curious to see what he has for us in store today. So without further ado, my good buddy Jared, what's going on, Jared?
I have nothing. Let's just end it now. I have nothing. But before we find out that I have nothing,
Пожалуйста.
Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Follow us or email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us untranslatables, which are idioms, sayings, proverbs, maybe axioms, kind of like this one.
Slipping on gator piss.
Or you can give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, please. It's good to have you back, David. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It feels like yesterday that I was here saying "Пожалуйста," and here we are. 8 months later? It's been about
5
8
months later. Because I remember the last episode was the 5 month. Your 5 months there.
Yeah. There's the recap.
But there was
midway.
one. When was the one before that?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. That was probably October, November?
If you give me a second, I can tell you. That was, we've done so many episodes.
We have. And this is 105 people, all for you.
Yes. I don't even know. Now I'm just scrolling through looking and I can't even find it.
So
It's great to be back.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming back. And to give our listeners a little context, David is a colleague of mine, also a Fulbright English teaching assistant here. And he has been in beautiful Hradec Králové for the last 10 months. Teaching at it's like a woodworking and music instrument building school.
Exactly. They make furniture, musical instruments. They design furniture, design rooms,
cool guitars as well.
Yeah.
Just for reference, the first episode you were on was episode 51, and it came out December 20th about learning the Russian language and culture.
Okay.
Before we get to all your guys' time in the Czech Republic, I have some news for Chad. Not news. I have watched another Spanish movie.
Yes. All right. Tell me about it. Let's hear it.
I'm in the process of learning Spanish, David. I don't know if you knew that. And I'm not going to say it's going well because it's not, but it's going. And so I gave up on really using this textbook that I was following, and now I'm just trying to watch at least one Spanish movie a week. And I watched Roma, and that's an artistic movie. This movie, I don't know if I'd call it as artistic, but it was entertaining. In Spanish, it's called Que baje Dios. Do you know what that means?
Dios is God. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the first word means.
Essentially means God comes down. But the English title for it is Holy Goalie.
Holy Goalie. Sounds like a soccer movie.
It is a soccer movie.
Okay. Holy Goalie sounds so much better.
And it's about a monastery in Spain that is that's going to be closed down to become a luxury hotel. And in order for them to, they're trying to get more clout for this monastery, so they join the Champions Cladum, which is the Champions League of holy people. And I'm not even kidding, by the way. And they have to win I don't really understand why, but they have to win the Champions Cladum in order to keep their monastery and not get it taken over by a luxury hotel. And so they start off. It was such a ridiculous concept for a movie. One, because they start off completely. No one knows how to play soccer. The first game they lose 15-0. It was awful. The second game, they win and they're amazing and they're already in it. And it was just how did you guys get good so quickly?
Power of God on their side, Jared, clearly.
I don't believe. But I'll say this. It was kind of funny. And it was much better for learning Spanish than Roma was, because it was there was less of a dialect to it, and it was a simpler movie in general. And it was kind of entertaining, as I mentioned. But I have some Spanish words of the pod that we'll get to later, specifically that I wrote down from that movie. It was just a ridiculous. I was watching the soccer playing of it, and first of all, they were playing 7v7 like I did in third grade, and I was like, I have like no adult would be playing 7v7, and then also they were the field was so small. I was like, this is not even real soccer. This is hilarious. And there was a point in the movie where the final game was against the Pope's team. And
of course
the Pope
it was.
wasn't playing, by the way, but it was like the Vatican team.
Okay.
And these were monks too, and they went out and got like drunk the night before and partied the night before, which they'd never also done before. So I don't know why all of a sudden they start now. But the coaches, in order to like get them from the club, they stole the Pope Mobile. But then crashed the Pope Mobile.
What does the Pope Mobile look like?
It wasn't even he broke into it like how someone broke into a Honda Civic in the 90s. He like shoved something into like like where they shove that thing into the window, and jimmied it. And then he just hot wired it. I was like, really? Is that how easy it is to break into the Pope Mobile?
The Pope Mobile clearly.
And it was like, I don't even remember what kind of car it was, but it was not what the current Pope Mobile is, that's for sure. But then they crashed it anyway. And I got some Spanish words. So
nice.
that's how I'm learning Spanish. Hey, David, I feel like I'm running at 1,000,000 miles per second right now. I heard that you're learning guitar.
I am learning guitar. Yes.
How's that been going?
Slow but good.
Yeah.
I started with fingerstyle because I'm used to classical music. I thought for me learning fingerstyle would be the best sort of transition. And I don't know, maybe I learned a new song once every 2 weeks. So it's going slow.
That's pretty good, though.
I'd say, I was just going to say that is pretty good. One song every 2 weeks is pretty damn good. But you also play banjo, and then you also use your fingers for banjo, right? 'Cause
yes.
You don't use a pick. Like you use like the finger pick thingies.
Yes. What I do with banjo.
Right? No?
What I do with banjo is I do use finger picks, but I don't use sort of the fast bluegrass style that you see a lot of famous bluegrass artists nowadays using. I use what's called clawhammer style, which is an older style I use mostly in folk music and Irish music, where you use all four of your fingers to strum. And then your thumb hits the high
string,
high
like
G,
drone.
the drone string.
Cool.
Have you been going to Chad for any advice?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Here and there, I gave him a little impromptu lesson today.
Okay.
On how to change your guitar tone from where you pick it. So he's got a lot of promise though. I think as a young guitarist.
So is this your guys' last time together in the Czech Republic, at least on this stint?
Yeah, as far as we know. Yeah, don't make the waterworks.
It's I'm already getting a little teary eyed.
What are you guys gonna do? Any plans
for tonight? Well,
we're getting a couples massage.
So we tend to have like 2 or 3 go-to restaurants. I feel like where we eat. Usually it's Las Aguilitas for Mexican food, which we did a long time ago when we were here. Then occasionally we'd get a burger at this place called The Tavern, which is 2 of my favorite places, and I think yours as well. I think that's safe to say. But today we are getting our wings on and getting some really good chicken wings at this place called Beer Geek, and they have also really, really good all sorts of beers. Last time I was there, I had a really good German beer. I think you had a Czech beer when you were there.
Yeah, they have Czech beer, Belgian beer, German beer, Russian beer, Slovakian beer, American beer. They even
had Bells in their fridge.
Oh,
and Founders in their fridge. Yeah.
It must be like super expensive there.
It is. It is a little expensive, but the wings are worth the price.
Yeah.
And it's the only place where I can get really spicy wings here that are actually good.
Yeah, the Czechs don't really do spice, do they?
Not really, no. I think the younger generation do eat some spice, but a lot of your traditional Czech meals, I mean, the seasoning, I'm doing air quotes for seasoning right now, is usually like dill or
it's dill,
garlic occasionally.
Salt, garlic, black pepper occasionally.
Yep, and not very much of it. So
pepper if they're feeling real spicy that time.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's good though that we got the 2-man wolf pack, got the band back together one more time before we go our separate ways.
Okay. All right. I'll save the waterworks questions for later.
Sounds
We
good.
can spread a little love.
You read my mind, Jared. So my first shout out, and I hope I'm not stealing your shout out here, Jared. I don't think I am, but
I doubt it.
My shout out goes out to David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. Do you know who?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
So he's the guitar player for Pink Floyd, and he donated, I believe, like over 125 guitars, something like that. But the crazy thing is, so 120 of David Gilmour's guitars were donated in New York, and he is donating the money raised to fight climate change and donate this to climate change charities, which I think is great. But the crazy thing about it is he's very famously known for what they call the Black Strat or the Black Stratocaster guitar.
Ooh,
and this is now actually the most expensive guitar ever sold at auction. There was a guitar a few years ago that was sold at auction for, I think, I don't remember how much it was now. But his Black Strat, I thought I read somewhere that said that it was donated for over $20 million. So pretty crazy stuff. So shout out to...
Much. It wasn't that much.
It wasn't?
No, it was 3.1 million pounds.
Okay. So maybe it was the whole collection of 21 million. Okay.
Yeah, the whole collection got about 17 million. Are you just making these things up, or are
no?
you...
I'm on a website right here, and it says 21 million.
Oh, interesting. I'm on Sky News, and it says Pink Floyd star David Gilmour sells a guitar collection for nearly 17 million at auction.
This one says here, in total, Gilmour auctioned off 126 guitars at Christie's, raking in a whopping total of 21 million. So either way, more than 17 million, safe to say.
Yes.
And big ups to David Gilmour, sending him a lot of love for being so generous with his collection and also using that money for a good cause.
So when when there's a car that sells for, say, millions of dollars, like say a Ford GT or something like that, the original Ford GT40, and say it auctions for, I don't know, 12 million. People are afraid to drive it because, one, you can crash a car. Two, the more miles you put on it, the less valuable it is. But the thing about a guitar, if someone bought this $3.1 million guitar, is there really a risk to playing it? Besides for dropping it, I guess.
No,
But who does that?
Well, his Black Strat already is heavily beat up. I mean, he took it on tour with him. If you look at pictures of it, there's all sorts of scratches.
Yeah, I can tell now.
They've
It's not very
redone
close up.
the fingerboard numerous times. They've changed the electronics inside the guitar. I mean, I guess it depends what you buy it for. Are you buying it for a collector's item, or are you buying it to play it? And I think a lot of these guitars, they are probably being bought as a collector's item. So
Right.
it sits in a case in a wall with probably a picture of David Gilmour playing it on stage or something.
The person buying it probably doesn't even know how to play guitar.
Maybe not. Who knows?
Probably just some rich person.
That's right. That's why I wouldn't buy one of those guitars, even if I had the money, because I buy my instruments to play them. Yeah. But
So you don't find interest in like, oh, this was played by like blah blah blah.
I mean, I think it would be cool to play it once or twice, but like I don't know if I'd really want to own it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get that. What about, say, Yo-Yo Ma's cello? That's the only cellist I could think of off the top of my head. Don't you play cello, or am I mistaken?
Viola.
But
viola.
I mean, it's a classical instrument, so I get it. I think I have the same opinion. I think musical instruments are meant to be enjoyed and, to enjoy the music that is produced by them. So if you can't play it, what's the point?
Yeah, for sure.
I remember I actually have a really old harmonica at my house that my great-grandfather brought from Germany. It's like 120 years old. Or not great-great-grandfather brought from Germany. And I always remember my mom saying, hey, David, don't play that. But then I think after some time, and me really wanting to play it, she realized, oh, this is some really cool harmonica we have. Mm-hmm. It's really nice. Why not enjoy it?
Yeah.
And so, I played it a little. And I think with any musical instrument, the same rule should apply. You should be able to enjoy it, not just look at it and appreciate it.
I'm with you. And
the only time I would ever get something as like a collector's thing is if it wasn't playable anymore, and if I just was balling out and like wanted it as like a
art piece,
exactly, art piece for my house or something. But I don't have that kind of cash, and I don't have a house right now, so it's kind of out of the question right now.
It's a moot point.
Yeah. What about you, Jared? What's your shout out?
My shout out goes to what's her name, Mavis Patterson, and she's become the oldest woman to cycle 960 miles from Land's End to John O'Groats, some Scottish place. She got the Guinness Book. Into the Guinness Book of World Records for being the oldest woman to do this, and she did it. She raised more than $50,000 for Macmillan's Cancer Support, a charity she's been supporting since her mother and sister died from the illness. Ms. Patterson wrote on Facebook, "It's hard to find words to describe her utterly unforgettable journey." She added that she was so very grateful for all the support and fun friends and whatnot. And I think it's awesome. I would love to be 81 and be able to cycle 960 miles. That's impressive. I was talking to someone the other day, and the question was, would you rather have the mind of a 30-year-old for the rest of your life, or the body of a 30-year-old for the rest of your life? And I started with body, but then I thought, well, if I don't have the mind, then I'm going to be, they'll be like, well, yeah, he's in perfect shape, but he's running on the freeway or something like
that. Right. That's a good point,
So
Jared.
I think I would choose mind, but I would love to be able to still, just because I choose mind doesn't mean my body has to turn decrepit. I just have to be the one keeping it in shape, and I think it's cool that she's doing this. And she also has kids that have, she's lost children, I believe, also from cancer, so she's doing it for a good cause. But I just thought it was cool. I would love to be that old and just be killing it like that.
Little tip for all of our listeners out there who are worried about getting old. My buddy, not this David, but my other buddy, David Davi, who's a doctor in Germany, he told me that his patients who are older, who are healthy, the reason why they stay healthy in old age is because they're up and moving and doing stuff. So riding a bike is a great thing. Swimming, tennis is good, especially if you have a clay court near you. That's much easier on your joints. So stay active and don't forget. What?
Speaking of tennis, stay active and don't forget to take your vitamins. Speaking of tennis, did you see that? I'm sure you heard. Who was it? Federer versus the other guy?
Nadal?
Who was it?
Nadal? Rafael Nadal?
Yes. Who ended up winning that?
Nadal.
Okay. Who would you have chosen or have rooted for?
That's a tough one. I mean, they're both two of my favorite players. I would probably have to say Nadal because he's left-handed and I'm a lefty. And also because Federer is more or less, in my opinion, one of the most flawless tennis players out there. Like, he makes it look so easy and effortless. Nadal really fights for every single point. And so it's kind of like this, different style of play. And I really like that Nadal was really one of the only guys in the tennis game that gave Federer problems. And that's really saying something. And so I've always loved watching them. They've had probably one of the best rivalries in tennis and are both great ambassadors for the sport as well. They give back to charity. They do a lot for different communities. So, yeah. But I would pick Nadal.
You still watch actively?
Once in a while. I watch the big tournaments.
Okay. Just curious. I meant to bring that up, but I obviously forgot. Anyway, let's get into some untranslatables.
You know what time it is. Well, do you want to start us off, David?
Sure. Yes. So I have a Czech one for us.
Paráda.
So it is symptom až po uši. Which
you gotta translate that word for word.
Which word for word means I am in this already to my ears.
Like you're overwhelmed?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Untranslatable judges aren't happy with it. Can you give him like an example?
In this to my ears, is it? Did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at my ears.
All right.
So an example is if you are, if you've got a job and you absolutely know that you want to take the job, or if you absolutely know that you want to date a girl or a guy, or you absolutely know that you love chocolate ice cream and you're about to buy some chocolate ice cream.
Not necessarily very sure. Let me add to the examples here. So, Jared, we're on episode 105 of the Untranslatable podcast. We have an Instagram page, Untranslatable Podcast, a YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast as well, an email, and a website. You could say that we are up to our ears in the Untranslatable Podcast.
Okay. We're like fully committed to it.
Yes,
exactly.
That ham horn, you got it.
I love Chad's face was so great. Oh God, I've never felt so encouraged in my life.
Imagine me in that way in a language classroom 5 days a week.
Oh,
that's
are you
my
really?
job.
Are you that? For some reason, I don't imagine you being that. Like not positive, but like.
That hyped up?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Depends on the class.
I don't see you as a very hyped up person.
Not usually. Not usually. Well, let's have you go next, Jared, because I have some Czech ones as well.
My first one is Greek, and it's katse stavga so, and it means to sit on your eggs.
Sit on your eggs. This is not, well, this isn't like having all your eggs in one basket, is it?
No.
No. Okay.
I think it could mean to wait for something good to happen.
No.
No. Okay. Sit on your eggs. This is to be like, you're just like waiting for something to happen?
No, but I'll give you an example. Say I'm hanging somewhere and I see two people start to get in a fight, and I just sit there and I sit on my eggs, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with me.
Oh, to like avoid something, or to not to avoid something, but
To stay out of it or mind your own business?
There you go. To stay uninvolved, to stay put, not to get involved with something.
just go sit on your eggs, man. All right.
I do a lot of sitting on my eggs. I don't like getting involved with other people's business.
Yeah, sometimes that's better. All right, Jared. So once again, I have some from my in-class research from my students.
Perfect.
For Czech Untranslatables, and my
Did you
first
just
one.
take a picture of the board?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, of course. So my first one is až na prší a úzké, which means, it literally means like after it rains, it's dry. After it rains, it's dry.
Like all bad things come to an end, essentially?
Nope.
David, do you know what it is?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Any guesses?
After it rains, it dries. Like what goes around comes around.
Nope. The Czechs have a different one for that.
Yeah, you already brought that one up. Everything is temporary.
Nope. We use a phrase. Well, we have two phrases, and I'm going to tell you them, even though it will give it away. The two phrases. One of them involves a pig. Another one involves hell.
Burn in hell.
Nope.
You dirty pig.
Close.
Not quite. We
Putting
say
makeup on a pig?
no. They do have that in Czech as well. Well, they have put a pearl necklace on a pig, or pearls on a pig, but no. So we have. So think about it, Jared. So after it rains, it's dry. Is it possible for it to be dry immediately after it rains?
No. You meant immediately after. I feel like I should be getting this. Whenever you give me examples like this, it just makes me feel like an idiot. I'm like, oh, I should totally be getting this.
Basically means when hell freezes over or when pigs fly. Like it's not going to happen. Impossible to happen. Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. Should I go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have a Russian one because we have our Russian-speaking friend here.
Perfect.
And I'll read it, and then we'll have David try to understand what I'm saying and see if he can actually pronounce it properly for me. Ja tebe pokazu kde raki zimujut. Did that make any sense?
I show you. What was the rest?
Ja tebe pokazu kde raki zimujut.
I show you.
You're
I
going
show
well
you
so
where
far.
the lobsters whistle.
Oh, so close.
Or the
I will show you where the lobsters spend the winter.
spend the winter. Okay.
Does that make sense? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you send me the Russian and then I can show it to David, and then he can
Yeah.
actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. But anyway, yeah. So while we're doing that, we can guess though, just to keep this moving.
So where
along.
the lobsters, I'll show you where the lobsters are in the winter. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where the lobsters spend the winter. Yeah.
Spend the winter.
So, I'm guessing the meaning. Like you'll show a secret, or like you'll cut corners or something.
No, I would say it's less of like a. How do I say this? It's more of like a statement than more like a.
Oh crap! I just read it, so I won't guess.
Oh right, I forgot that would happen.
Yeah, I'll cover it up so David can't see the.
Well,
Where is it? Right here.
Я тебе покажу, где раки зимуют.
Zimoyut would be winter.
Yeah, to winter, I guess. Where they're wintering. I don't know.
they're classy.
So-
This is where these lobsters like to winter in Martha's Vineyard.
So, could you equate this? I'm going to try to help David here. Could you equate this with? We have a phrase that Mafia guys say with the fishes.
Oh yeah.
Mafia guys say with the fishes.
Mafia guys have a phrase. They say, "Be careful, or you'll be
Like a fish? I don't know.
be swimming with the fishes." Tone.
Oh, you'll be dead. So, I'm guessing lobsters can't survive the winter, so they'll be dead or something?
Essentially, yeah. It's just a general threat, though. It's more
it's a
just like
threat.
It's a threat.
Yeah.
We'll show
It's
you
like,
where lobsters spend winter.
Perfect.
Parada. Okay, I have one more Czech one before we get on to talking more about the Czech Republic. And it is udělat za kamara del bloda, which means, this should be an easy one for both of you, to make a camel out of a mosquito.
Oh, yeah, to make an ant out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Or a mountain out of a molehill, yeah?
Yep, that makes way more sense than what I just said.
Okay. All right, well, it's time for us to recap our time here in the Czech Republic, talk about some of the things we've learned, whether it's about Czech culture, Czech people, ourselves. I'm curious to see what David has to say, and I'm very happy he's been able to join us for this episode because the beauty of the Fulbright and our situation is we live in completely different towns. Hradec has, 100,000 people?
Yeah.
And a university. Chomutov has 50,000. And they're in different regions in the Czech Republic. I'm in what they call Ústecký kraj, or the Ústí nad Labem region. And what region are you in?
It's funny. It's the name Hradec Králové switched. It's Králové Hradecký kraj.
Okay.
So Hradec Králové region.
There you go.
Okay. So before Chad got there, he had he does a lot of research. Some might call him paranoid, very cautious. Did you have
Or just curious.
Did you have any preconceived notions that either were true or you're like, oh, that was a foolish thing that I was concerned about?
That's a good question.
Off to a good start, Jared.
Thank you.
This is hard.
Can I answer it while you're
Yeah.
thinking? So for me, I thought that the Czech Republic, I thought stupidly it would be a lot like Germany and Austria, where a lot of people speak English and a lot of people are excited about practicing their English with a foreigner, with a native speaker. And in my town, it was the opposite of what I thought. People became very intimidated when they realized I was American. Maybe it would have been better if I would have told them I was a German, because they seemed very intimidated to speak English with me. Maybe they were worried they would make mistakes or something. I'm really not sure. But that was a big thing for me. I thought the language barrier wouldn't be too bad. You know, I was planning on learning some Czech anyways, because I think it's useful whenever you travel somewhere to learn, some, pleasantries in the language. But at the same time, I figured, oh yeah, I can get around with English no problem. And that was not the case at all.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. Yeah, entirely. I think when I spoke English to people too, even if their English was fantastic, they were still intimidated. They are still intimidated. I see it even, today.
We're intimidating guys, Jared. What can I say?
So it's not different. You being in a much bigger city, that's still the case for essentially.
I think it's possible that there may be more people that speak fluent English just because there's like more schooling and the universities. You may run into more people, but I think the intimidation factor is just as present in Hradec as Chomutov.
And I have a theory for this as well. I think it's because in a lot of Czech English classes, the emphasis tends to be more on grammar and you know, teaching them so they can pass their tests, which I understand. I'm not trying to knock that, but at the same time, I think that if classes were taught a bit more communicatively, students would not be as intimidated to speak with anybody, regardless if they're native speakers or not. And I asked my students, this week was my last week for most of my classes, and I asked them, what did you guys learn from my lesson? And one thing that a lot of the students said was feeling more comfortable talking. Nothing. They learned nothing.
I had a few students say that.
I'm not
really?
surprised. I'm not. David told me one time, I could not believe this. He had messaged me about a lesson plan or something, or I don't even remember what it was, but I told David, I was like, yeah, well, why don't you just sit down with him and say, well, what do you want to talk about? And what's your student's response to that, David?
I had a student say, when can we leave? Is what they wanted to talk about. But, you know, you just got to realize, you know, we're teaching high schoolers. It's teenagers, you know, they've got raging hormones.
I think it's like
they're-
that in the States, too.
And,
Do they think
you
they're
know,
being funny, or do they just
think
not
they're
like
being
you?
cool or funny or something? And,
Okay.
you know, it's just, I think it's just because they're teenagers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's true.
For sure.
It doesn't, and they don't know how to actually express their feelings.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to express my feelings, to be fair.
Me neither.
We're getting there, Jared. We're getting there. I'm secretly trying to train you on the podcast to slowly reveal more and more of your feelings. But yeah.
Okay. What won't you miss? What are
Ooh,
you?
Good question.
What won't?
What,
I'll let you go first.
okay, what won't I miss? I won't miss, at least, I don't know if this is a problem in Hradec, but in Chomutov, a lot of people will take their dogs out, they'll take a dump, and they won't clean it up. So I will not miss dog poop. I'm not saying it's everywhere, but definitely there have been mornings where if I wasn't paying attention on my walk to school, I would have been walking around with dog shit on the bottom of my shoe all
And you
day.
won't miss
So
that.
that's
That's a good
one
one.
thing. I also think that, at least in my town, a lot of people litter. Like, you see cigarette butts everywhere. And there are even trash cans with the little thing to throw your cigarettes in. I see people flick their cigarette when they could just take 2 or 3 steps and throw it away there. So that's one thing that I won't miss. And, you know, had you asked me this, Jared, in the beginning of my time here, I would have told you I won't miss feeling so lost by not having great Czech language skills. Now I've gotten really accustomed to just accepting that I don't always know what's going on around me. In the beginning, it was really difficult, and I think it was mentally very draining for me. Now it's fine, and now I've noticed that I pick up a lot. Like, I was with some friends last night. Shout out to my good friend Jaroslava. I was with her and some of her friends. We went out to a couple pubs, and I was speaking Czech with them. And I told them I've been learning it for 10 months, and you should have seen the look of sheer surprise on their faces when I was able to. I mean, it's not like I was having a good conversation, but, you know, I understood what they were saying, like maybe 30-40% of the time if they spoke slowly, maybe even 50%, and would respond to stuff. And you should have seen the look on their faces when I responded to stuff. They asked me something, and I said, určitě, which is Czech for like certainly.
Yeah.
And it blew their mind. They were like, what? And it's like just those simple little phrases like that. So in the beginning, I would have said I won't miss that. But I think going back to the States, I will kind of miss that now because I'm starting to learn it and feel more comfortable. But enough about me. What about you, David?
I would agree with that, and I think it still happens sometimes where you get talked about in the third person sometimes because people will automatically assume, since Czech is a hard language to learn and we're foreigners and a lot of foreigners here don't know any Czech, that we don't know Czech, and so people will talk about you right there in Czech and then like turn to you and speak in English. And I think that's probably happened to both of us, but I think it gets a lot better with time. Things I won't miss.
My family does that about me, or not. Maybe not really anymore, but they used to do that about me. Like my grandparents and talking to my parents and stuff, and I'm like, I'm 6 or 10, but I'm right here.
So yeah, my family too, for sure. So I think we can all relate. Things I won't miss. I mean, public transportation. I mean, that's anywhere, right? You know, there's sometimes a lot of people on the bus, and sometimes it's smelly, and sometimes it's hot. You know that sometimes, and I don't know, like people. A lot of times people here like show their frustration very openly, even in the workplace. Like work colleagues are just like something has, you know, made them go off, and they're not going to hide it at all, which
Have
I
you seen
understand.
A few times, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand it. You know, everyone has a bad day, but like, I don't know. I think in the U.S., you know, people, you know, in the U.S., people don't expect you not to like take it out on other people. But here, it's just if you're mad, you know, sometimes everyone knows about it, and so maybe that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never. I mean, I've seen people get mad at work here, but I've never been in a situation where like I've been so mad that I need to like blow up at someone, or like I just try to keep emotions out of work so much.
Yeah.
Right. 2 other things I just realized that I won't miss: paying to use the restroom and paying
I
for water
agree.
at restaurants.
I second both those things.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you some lessons you learned about teaching specifically
Teaching specifically.
that you'll take on to your
Well,
next gigs or wherever that may be?
For me, I guess the biggest thing was I always thought I was flexible until I came here, and then there were a few scenarios where I was told, you know, 20 minutes before my next lesson, oh, hey, could you teach a lesson on New York? And I've never been to New York. I don't know anything about New York, but okay, sure. You know, I'm the token American. I got to teach a lesson about New York, right? Thankfully, I've been to D.C., so I could talk about D.C. when I was asked about that. But the flexibility, and like, I think David has had a similar scenario as well, where our schedules tend to change, and especially towards the end of the year, like things get moved around in the timetable.
Like they tell you there's a major change the day of.
Exactly. So there have been a few times, like on Friday, I woke up and I actually had a text message, and hey, could you come in at 9:45 instead of 10:30 because the lessons have been moved, you know? And I think most Americans, this would drive them completely crazy. They would think it's unprofessional or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily being unprofessional. I think it's just that the school systems there, things are moved around and they're a little bit more malleable, and you have to be flexible and take that into account, which now it doesn't bother me. And I feel like now I could walk into a classroom, not that this is ideal, but I could walk into a classroom with nothing planned and still have probably a fairly decent lesson out of it. And that really developed while I've been here. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I've been asked the same, and schedules are always changing, and you learn about major things the day of or the day before. It's totally normal to us both now, which I think is, you know, a really positive thing. For me, this was my first year teaching, and of course my first year teaching teenagers. So
That's a whole bag of worms.
I think I learned a lot about how to deal with teenagers. You know, I think teenagers, you know, they're going through a really important time in their life. Often there's a lot of emotions. Maybe their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them. Maybe, you know, something's going on in their family, and you know, they're not always going to have a good day, and sometimes they need some support, and sometimes they need to be understanding. Or I need to be understanding of them, and you know, you got to work with that every day, and I think that's really a really important skill.
Mm-hmm.
Teenagers make me uncomfortable. How do you feel about the Instagram account made specifically to make memes about you?
I mean, that wasn't David, that was Parker.
Yeah.
Or do you have?
I've had one meme about me, but
you only had one?
I don't have a whole Insta page. That's another level that I hope to never reach.
I feel like someone follows us on Instagram that is like David's face is the picture. Let me find it.
Yes.
Oh, tell them that story.
Okay.
Tell them that story.
My student made this. It's called, you can follow it. It's called Hermelín Kodvasaj Kulíšek. Hermelín is a type of cheese here in the Czech Republic.
Which I'm hoping we're going to get later tonight.
I love that. Hermelín. So cheese, Kodvasaj is this strange liqueur that's like cherries and ginger and chili. It's actually pretty
delicious.
Good.
Oh, he hasn't posted anything, though. I'm looking at him now.
And Kulíšek.
It's usually stories.
Yeah, it's usually stories. And Kulíšek is my nickname, which means little man in a beanie hat. And it's all those two together. And my student made it and then turned it over to me. She said, "You know what, David, you can have it since it's yours." And so now I just post funny memes on it.
Oh, that's
Usually
you
check
that does
stuff.
that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
did not know
so
that.
what's funny is that there's two things I've learned about Instagram.
It wasn't me in the beginning. They were doing it,
Right.
and then it became me.
And the two things I've
gotcha.
learned about Czech teenagers and Instagram is one, they all have kind of a similar like short little bio, like happy Czech boy,
17 Czech boy loves scooters.
something like that, right? And then they'll have one Insta account, and then they'll usually have like a secret Insta account, which you can usually very easily find because it also has their name on it. And there they'll post more racy memes or
Drunk vids.
yeah, all sorts of random stuff.
I think they call that a Finsta.
Yeah.
It is. It's called a Finsta.
I introduced my students to the term Finsta, and then I saw multiple students go put on their Finsta, so-and-so's Finsta.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, so it's like if your parents are trying to look at your stuff, you're like, look, it's just me at Easter. And the other one is them at the strip club or whatever kids do these days.
All sorts of bad.
Easter afternoon.
Hey, Chad, are your teenagers as teenagery as David's teenagers? I feel like I don't hear stories like this from you.
Well, we teach at very different types of schools, right? So I'm at a technical school. He's at a woodworking music instrument building school.
So the artistes are more...
Exactly. Maybe. Well, see, my students a lot of them tend to keep more to themselves, especially the ones who are more into like computing and gaming and stuff. You know, that's what they like to do to spend their time, you know, so they get online and play games with their friends. So I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, I got a lot of students who are very openly rock and roll. You know, they love music. They love various substances. They like to express that.
Wow.
So there you go.
That's interesting that the teacher knows about that.
They openly admit it in class.
They,
if you ask
they don't
them.
hide things for sure. Yeah,
I
they
have
don't hide
noticed
things.
that from talking to Chad all this time about that. Like, it just does seem like a very different. And maybe it's because you guys are more like visiting teachers. Is it like this with all the teachers? Because it does seem like there's this like a level of openness that I never had with any of my teachers.
I think with some of the younger teachers at my school, the students are a bit more open, but not always with the older teachers.
Okay, that would make sense.
I'd say the same.
What was I? Did I? Oh yeah, lessons. What are some lessons you learned in general? It doesn't have to be teacher related. Something about your time there, about living alone in a foreign country, about I know David has a lady friend. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention that, but I just did.
You can mention it.
Okay.
I guess I shouldn't speak for David, but
Yeah, Chad's like, it's fine.
it's good.
Yeah, it's fine. Lessons learned. I have one really important one, and it has to do with friends, lady friends, anybody. Any cultural experience you're offered, always say yes. I mean, unless it's like, let's jump off a cliff, you know. It's not a Czech tradition to jump off a cliff, but
Right.
you know, any experience, let's go pick mushrooms, let's go to the pub and have a conversation.
It's a super Czech thing, picking mushrooms, by the way.
Let's
Oh, really?
go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go do whatever. You know, always say yes. You won't regret it. It's the best way to make friends here.
One warning or one word of caution, though. When Czech people say, let's go for a beer, it's never a beer. So just be aware of that. It's not a bad thing, but just be aware of that.
That's something I've been trying to implement in my life is not saying no to stuff. And I often, specifically probably a lot of the times, stuff that my girlfriend asked to do, I'll say yes to it, and in my head it's like, I don't want to do this. But it always ends up being like fine, obviously, or enjoyable. And it's just forcing yourself out of your comfort zone is difficult for people like myself. And that's something I constantly try to work on.
So let me also give my 2 cents of things I've learned. I mean, we could do an entire episode. Well, we kind of already are doing an episode on this, but
yeah, that's
an even longer
is.
episode on this. But I would say some of the main things I've learned is, and I know this sounds very cliche and kind of stupid, but don't be afraid to embrace and accept the unexpected, right? So there have been many times where, like David mentioned, I'll be invited for something, I have no idea what it's going to be like. But yeah, just go anyways, and don't let things frazzle you if it's not. I try to go into things now having little to no expectations, and then it's always fun, right?
Yeah.
But if I have all these expectations of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, it's never good. The other thing that I've learned is how important, and I think we've mentioned this when we did the solo and individual travel, was how important some people in your life are that you realize who is important after you've been abroad for a while, right? You start to really figure out who your good friends are.
Yeah,
I am.
Exactly, all that good stuff. But also don't be afraid to reach out to people as well. I'm the type of person, I'm usually terrible about reaching out to people, and I'm trying to improve that. And I don't think I would have really realized that had I have stayed in Michigan and not been, when you're physically separated, really the only way you can stay in touch with people is to follow up with them, send them messages, text messages, emails, whatever. And I think it's really important, and we're really lucky, and we take it for granted how, easy it is to stay connected with our friends, family, and loved ones.
That makes sense, especially since in Michigan, you had a friend circle at your school. At Michigan State, but maybe because of that, you maybe neglected other close friends you had that weren't at Michigan State. So leaving puts all of those friends into all those friendships into perspective a little bit.
Definitely.
You think you're getting better at that?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
I'm trying to. Yeah. I've been trying to make an effort to reach out to at least 3 or 4 people just per week. Just randomly send them a message. And, how are you doing? Especially, too, now that I'm going to be in Michigan very, very soon. I also want to see these people again. And so I think that's another thing. And coming here has also really helped me, Jared probably won't believe this, but worry less and become more patient and less concerned about things that are out of your control. And I think it has gotten a lot better. Whether or not Jared believes it.
I believe you. So we talked a little bit about this, but I want to know now, 10 months in, where is your Czech at? How would you rate yourself?
Not as good as I hoped it'd be.
Yeah,
really?
I would agree with that 100%. Yeah.
I think I kind of agree with that as far as Chad goes, at least. I expected 10 months. I mean, I don't know. I just don't talk to David as much. So.
Thinking about Jared.
I was just, because, you think that 10 months is enough to, have conversations. But I think, one, that's a pretty high bar. And two, also, Czech is more complicated than, I think, languages that you're used to learning, Chad, at least.
Yeah.
And
in some ways, yeah.
I think I could be totally wrong about this. My opinion, I think Czech's really important for this region of Europe. There's at least 11 million Czech speakers if you count Slovakia.
Might be fighting words right there.
Ooh.
Slipping on gator piss.
So, Slovaks who speak Czech.
I see what you're saying.
Not like Slovak and Czech
Lumping
are
them
one
together.
language.
No,
I'm not
Czech,
lumping
you're
them.
good.
Slovaks who speak Czech because a lot of Slovaks have gone to university here and whatnot.
Or work here.
Or work here.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for this region of Europe, it's really important. At the same time, on a world scale, I think a lot of people don't consider it as important. And whereas you go to some countries like maybe Germany, Russia, some France, some Spanish-speaking country, English-speaking country, etc., people are like, oh, you need to know this. to live here. Whereas the opinion of a lot of Czechs and people in general is you can go to the Czech Republic and never have to necessarily learn Czech, which, I don't think that's true. I think, everyone should make an effort to learn basic phrases and, always try to improve as much as they can. But there is like a dominating attitude here sometimes that, if you're here, you don't actually have to learn Czech.
And I've been discouraged by people when I tell them, I'm learning Czech, and they're like, why are you learning it? It's so difficult. You can only use it here, blah, blah, blah. They make all of these excuses. And it's like, why can't you just say, oh, that's really cool, you're learning Czech? I would think that you would want to embrace someone trying to learn more about your culture and your language instead of, trying to discourage them. Like, yeah, it's difficult, but nothing in life that's good comes easy.
Yeah, you've had a lot of experiences, telling me at least, people asking you, like, why are you even bothering to learn Czech?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that they feel that way about it, yet they're also, like it seems kind of necessary in the sense that they don't want to speak English. So it's like they find it weird that you're learning Czech, but then also they're scared to speak English to you.
It's catch-22.
So it's like,
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's like, just don't talk to us.
Right.
But see, I've had some people say that, don't talk to me.
Right. But see, I've realized now, and in a way it's kind of stupid that I've realized this late because it's so obvious, right? Sometimes the things right in front of our faces are the most obvious. And this one is that I just needed to spend more time with bigger groups of Czech people. When I would hang out with one or two students or three or four students, there would be some Czech spoken, but a lot of it was English, right? But like last night, I was out in a group of, I think, 6 or 7, and I was the only English speaker, and a few of them didn't really speak, or I wasn't the only English speaker, but I was the only non-Czech speaker. Right. And there were a few people that were with us that didn't speak very much English, and so what that meant was I was forced to speak Czech, which I wish I would have, if I could go back 10 months ago, I wish I would have thrown myself in more of those situations. I think that's why David has improved his Czech a lot, is because you spend a lot more time, I think, with bigger groups of people. They teach you Czech, things like this. With my students, I think they kind of view spending time with me as, oh, cool, I can practice my English more and talk to Ched in English, which is fine. That's also a good thing. But I think that's a big difference between my relationship with my students and David's relationship with his. Yeah.
And for me, I've recognized a lot when my students get into big groups, they're telling stories, they're telling jokes, and they don't want to speak English sometimes. So it's like I have to try my best to follow the conversation because they're so excited about something that they're not gonna look at me and switch back to English.
Right.
Do you guys plan on like keeping it up, your Czech?
I hope so. I would like to.
Hope so.
I mean, well, do you want to?
I might be here next year, so who knows?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So his Czech will be real good. Yeah, I figure keep it up a little bit. I would even like to, set aside maybe, I don't know, probably not a ton of time because I'll be learning another language. We'll reveal that language later on and probably, I don't know,
Chad's
maybe
been
5-10 episodes.
For so long.
I'm going to keep teasing
making me anxious.
Can I start making guesses?
Nope. No guesses allowed. No guesses allowed. But yeah, so for me though, I'd like to allocate like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes a week to kind of keeping up on my Czech. And the nice thing is though, there's a lot of Czech music I really enjoy, so that's easy. There's some movies and stuff I want to watch as well. So yeah, but for you, if you end up staying here, it'll be very easy for you.
Yeah,
right.
I hope it'll get a lot better. Workable.
So, David, you've been doing a lot of traveling since you've been there. I follow you on Instagram, and I see. What are some what are some places some standout places that you've been to since you've been there?
Ooh, like in Europe or Czech Republic specifically?
What are some travel places that are your favorite? It doesn't matter. Both. Yeah.
So one place I went during my spring break was Tallinn, Estonia. And it was absolutely incredible. It's a really fascinating medieval city. The architecture is cool. It's affordable. The people there are really nice.
Free Wi-Fi everywhere.
Wi-Fi everywhere. The food's good. If you like seafood, they got really good seafood there. Interestingly to me, speaking of languages, people in Estonia, so Estonians, I think, have really good English, but also there's a large percentage of Estonian citizens who are ethnically Russian. So about 33% of Estonians, their first language is Russian and not Estonian. And so you get a country where almost everyone knows 3 languages: Estonian, Russian, and English. And you're constantly seeing people switch between these 3 languages, and it's really fascinating to me. And it's, in general, a really cool place to go to.
It's cool to see that code switching going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know much about Estonia, but I'm looking at pictures from Tallinn, Estonia. It's very colorful. It's got some of like those Russian style cathedral thingies, mosque thingies, whatever you call them, with like the little dome things at the top. This is one of the worst explanations I've ever heard.
but you're right. The Russian churches have those domes, and they're really really iconic. They have those. So Tallinn was also part of the Hanseatic League. If you studied any medieval history and into the Renaissance, and it was a group of like cities on the Baltic Sea that were really wealthy, and so you see all this old kind of medieval to Renaissance architecture there.
Cool. How'd you choose Estonia? Was it just like because no offense to our Estonian listeners, but it wouldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, so I had heard about it as one of those places that is kind of a hidden gem. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially like Finns and Russians and Swedes, know about Estonia because it's a place to go get cheap alcohol if you live on the Baltic Sea. But other than that, it's kind of a hidden gem, and a lot of people had told me this, and so I said, well, I want to go see it for myself.
Yeah, that's a cool one to add to your repertoire. What about you, Chad? Please.
Well, so one thing I will say this. I think I've done a decent amount of traveling within the Czech Republic. I do wish I would have gone to a few different countries. So I went to Austria and Germany. Love them, but been there, done that, right? So I wish if I could go back and turn back time on these 10 months. David also went to Budapest. I would love to go there. I've heard a lot of great things about Budapest. I would love to go to Italy, to Poland, Croatia. There's a lot of different countries. But of the Czech Republic, still to this day, I think some of the most beautiful nature I've ever seen was Czech Switzerland. Yeah. And if you go to Pravčická Brana, which is like the gate, there it's like this really cool rock formation that looks like a gate. It's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, just that, and you've been there before too, right? And so that's really good. And then in the town of Krasna Lipa, which means like beautiful lime tree, Krasna Lipa, there's a brewery called Falkenstein. That sounds German, right? But they have amazing beer, also amazing pickled Hermelin. If you come to the Czech Republic, especially if you're at a pub, you have to get pickled Hermelin. It's so good. And I goofed when you came to visit, Jared, and not have that with you. So we're going to have to do a check. I'm starting to
get annoyed because you keep mentioning that. And I'm like, I was there. Where was my Hermelin?
Right. It's all right. We'll have to do a Czech Republic 2.0. And if David's still here, then we definitely have to do a Czech Republic.
That'd be great.
Good of a sigh.
That's right.
There was also that, and wasn't there also like the fried cheese too?
Yeah, Smazini Sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Schmazak, one of those.
Smazak, yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah. What's crazy is I was talking to this guy yesterday, and he was telling me when I was at this little birthday party, and he was telling me that the Czech Republic, people would kind of make fun of the Czech Republic a little bit because in the 80s and 90s, the only vegetarian option on the menu was fried cheese. And a lot of times the fried cheese would have a slice of ham on top of it.
Okay.
So it still wasn't even really vegetarian.
Right.
So kind of funny little tidbit there about Czech history in the culinary arts of Czech cuisine, I guess. But yeah.
What else do I? All right. I have one final thing I want to do.
I'm very nervous. This laugh is making me nervous.
So, you guys became good friends while you were there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, this might be the last time you see each other for a while. Not forever, of course.
Right. Make David cry. Thanks, Jared.
Now, Chad, I want you to look at David and tell them what you've enjoyed most about having him as a friend, and then vice versa.
Are you trying to make me cry?
Are you?
You might actually. All right. All right. We're gonna
Chat first.
I'm gonna turn the mic off.
Okay. So, oh man, there's just so many things. I guess the biggest thing that I value the most about our friendship, and we do get shit by other Fulbrighters about our bromance, by the way, which is pretty obvious. But I would say,
well, you should send him this clip to really solidify that.
we'll pop it on the Instagram. We can tag some people for sure.
All right.
But I guess the biggest thing for me was from day one, I've always felt like I could just be myself with David. You know, we are goofy. We have a good time. We're both kind of weird. And it works out really well, you know? And so, and the other thing is too, a lot of times it's strange the level where we're on the same wavelength. Like there have been a few times we came to hang out in Prague and I think either you messaged me or I messaged you like Mexican food or like chicken wings or something. And I was literally about to write him and say, hey, do you want Mexican food or do you want chicken wings tonight for dinner? So that's one thing. And I think the other thing too is that, and I've learned this too about my other friends that I've made in the Czech Republic, is that David has become a guy that I think will be a friend for life. This isn't just like hang out with someone's your study abroad buddies and then you never see him again. You know, like in all seriousness, this is an invitation for Jared and for David. Like you guys will be in my wedding if I ever get married. Untranslatable listeners have heard it first here, but it's like I'm very confident, you know, the two of you would be two of my first choices to be a part in my wedding. I just value our friendship and the time we spent together, and I'm looking forward to future adventures. So yeah, there's my 2 cents.
That was good. David?
Пожалуйста. So the mic didn't go off, but I was definitely leaning far away from it. Chad, you really took the words out of my mouth.
See, it's a wavelength thing. Told you.
that goofiness and the, you know, just getting each other from day one. I remember, when was the first time we started playing Mask Off? Who's the artist of Mask Off? Future. Mask Off by Future. When was the first time we played that?
When we were at we were by Namiesti Miru in that one Airbnb, and we took a nap because, as usual, we're here on a Saturday, but usually we come in Friday and Saturday. We go too hard, we go ham on Friday, and then Saturday's recovery day. So we took a nap, we got up, and we were going to go out again, and we needed to amp ourselves up. So first we played Party Up in Here by DMX, which is a great hype song. And then I think it was your suggestion to play Mask Off.
And that's like, you know, that's our song that we play when we know we're about to have an awesome time. And just, you know, just that song and like sitting in the room and not sitting in the room, jumping up and down on the bed in the room. Like, you know, those moments I'm like, this is how I know I have a true, fantastic friend for life. You know, as we're jumping on the bed, screaming Mask Off, Molly Percocets. And also, you know, Chad has been a friend that was always there for me. You know, I'm
likewise.
Be it because, you know, I'm a first time teacher and I needed advice or I needed help with something. You know, he's always been there for me. And as Chad said, I think I have absolutely no doubt that we'll be friends for life. I'm not gonna say anything about a wedding.
Don't jinx yourself. That's
because, well, but the same goes for you.
The silence is more than enough.
Right.
That was great. That might have been one of the greatest things I've ever facilitated on this podcast.
Probably, not gonna lie. And I guess the other thing too is that, just like with you, Jared, and with a couple of my other friends back in the States, like even though I talk to you and David quite a bit, I also have a feeling, although this goes against what I said earlier about trying to stay better connected with people, I get the vibe from David and from you. If for some reason we wouldn't talk for a week or even a month, obviously it wouldn't be possible with our podcast. But I'm just saying, you know, bear with me here. Hypothetically speaking, I could not talk to either of you guys for a while. And I feel like grab a beer with you or hang out with you, and it would feel like no time passed.
I agree with that, and I mean, I think we had that even before we started this podcast. We didn't talk consistently, but I mean, even starting the podcast was so easy, in spite of the fact that we hadn't really consistently been talking that much before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get that, and I'm glad you found that. That makes any sort of kind of scary journey, especially to a different country, a whole lot easier for someone to know that you at least have someone to go to for stuff like that.
And what I really love as well is that there have been times where I've texted David or David's texted me and been like, does this happen in your town? So it's good to have like another point of reference, because it's different when you ask a Czech person, like, is this normal? Because to them, what's normal is maybe slightly different than what would be normal to David and I. So, not really at my school is this a problem, but I've heard from other people in Chomutov at other schools where teachers will have inappropriate relationships with students or say inappropriate things. And so when I was told this, I asked David, I'm like, have you heard this in Shoutouts as well? Like, is Chomutov just weird? And thankfully Chomutov is not weird. It happens all over the Czech Republic. I've talked to other people in Fulbright as well, and we are not the only ones. But it's good to have that reference where we come from a similar upbringing in a lot of ways, well, at least as Americans in small towns and all that stuff. And so I think we tend to think very similarly. And so it's helpful to have that friend, that point of reference where you're like, am I crazy right now? Or is this really, so yeah.
So that's great. So we won't have to get into specifically what's next, but before what's coming next, I know Chad has been teasing this for a long time, but before whatever it is that's coming next, he will be spending a good amount of time in Michigan. Are you going to be spending any time in the U.S. before your next assignment, whatever that may be?
I will. I'll be there for 2 months this summer. So,
okay,
like the second half of July, all of August, and the first half of September.
You're from Missouri.
Yes.
What are some Missouri staples where it's like, oh, now I'm back in the M nasty. Gotta get that.
Yeah. So
I don't know what happens in Missouri.
There's the rodeo. We got a big rodeo in our hometown.
Are you allowed entry if you aren't wearing a cowboy hat and cowboy boots?
Well, luckily for me, I have a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, so I can go in.
Okay.
But I've seen people there without the hat, but almost rarely without the boots.
Interesting.
That's
I thought
a
it'd
good
be
question.
the other way around.
Me too.
What's your town called?
It is called Sikeston, Sikeston.
Psych.
Yeah, exactly. That's what everyone says.
It's too easy.
Are there any specific places or restaurants that you're really looking forward to visiting when you get back to the States? Because I definitely have a list. I'm definitely going to gain some weight when I get back to the States.
Oh yeah, me too. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of good ones, but I'll say where I'm from, there's a lot. People eat fried catfish a lot, and I'm looking forward to that. I like fried catfish. I think it's pretty good.
I'm very used to fried catfish, having all my family be from Louisiana, so that's a staple around there for us too. Okay. What is it gonna be the first thing you hit, Chad? That's gonna really blow you up.
Well, two restaurants. Well, not even really restaurants, but fast food joints. Is A&W. Gonna get myself a tasty coney dog.
A&W.
Love A&W.
Honestly, the only A&W I ever see anymore is the one in Dexter. I don't see A&W restaurants anywhere.
I believe it, but that place is great. Fantastic food there. So A&W and Dexter. I guess there's three things. Dexter Bakery Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Which are the bomb.
Yeah.
A&W chili dogs.
Just put them out there.
They
just
do.
To tease people. You're like, hey, go for it. It's like, I've already had 5.
Right. And then the other one, of course, is Taco Bell. Love Taco Bell. One of my favorite fast food chains. So those three, I mean, obviously there's plenty more, but probably the first night I'm home, I'll probably go to Taco Bell.
Damn, you're gonna be in the bathroom all night. I wasn't ready. Okay, that was fun. That's all I got. That was great.
Can I say though? You asked us what we don't miss. I want to talk about what I'm going to miss because
did I not ask that?
You didn't.
Oh, I meant to.
So I want to say the first thing and the most obvious is obviously the friends and the people, right? I mean, that's the easy one.
Right.
But, that's too obvious. I'm not going to get into that. Plus, it's super sentimental. I think we've already gotten sentimental enough this episode. But I would say the other thing that I'm really going to miss is obviously the food. Love a lot of different Czech dishes. And the beer. And the big thing is the price of beer. You can get very high quality beer for cheaper than water here. So that's really fantastic. And then I'm trying to think what else.
The hell was that?
Let's see here. I'm trying to think what else.
Are you in a hostel?
Airbnb, remember?
Oh, yeah. I just didn't know there would be other people there.
Yeah.
I have been hearing a lot of stuff going on in the background, but I thought maybe that was like another apartment or something.
No.
That guy looks so confused.
Probably, yeah. What else? What are you gonna miss?
Well, as you
Tell him to
said,
shut
the
the
beer,
fuck up.
right? I mean, not only is it cheap, but it's such high quality compared to the standard American domestic beer. Yeah, you can get great.
Right.
You can get great craft beer in the U.S., but it's expensive.
Right.
And
IPAs here, which are actually pretty good. They're not as hoppy as IPAs in the States, which is pretty cool.
For you.
Yeah, right. That's true. You do like your IPAs. What else though? I would say
the nature here is really
for
nice,
sure.
and you can find nice nature in the U.S. Of course, I mean the U.S. has beautiful nature, but here, you walk 5 miles outside your town, and you're in the middle of a park in the forest and the mountains, and it's beautiful. In the U.S. you have to drive a long ways to get there.
Yeah, and I'm lucky where I'm in the Ore Mountains. And so all around me there are really beautiful mountains and forests and stuff. And so I'll definitely miss the scenery and the nature as well.
And you even have a great view from your apartment.
I do. I mean,
Just
I
looking
wake
at
up
your
every
windows,
morning. I wake up every morning and count my blessings because being on the 9th floor and having that view, it's perfect. So that was our gracious and amazing Airbnb host, Tommy.
Okay.
So shout out to Tommy for letting us stay here, and it's a nice place. So that's the other thing though too, is that a lot of Czech people I've met, Czech people, Vietnamese people who are Vietnamese Czech. Some of them tend to be a bit reserved in the beginning, but once you break down that wall, they're super friendly, super nice, very helpful. And Tommy is absolutely great, and he was just super friendly off the get-go. But I mean, there's gonna be a lot of things I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss the opportunity to try out my terrible Czech. Now it's just gonna get more terrible because I won't be able to speak it regularly.
It's also I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing, but sometimes you can sometimes, I don't know, sit in a bus or a train or something and sort of zone out. One, because maybe Europeans don't talk as much in public transportation, and two, because I don't know, if you're not focusing on the language, you may not always pick everything up. Whereas in the U.S., of course, if it's English is your mother tongue, then you're gonna understand everything. It's hard to zone out if someone's screaming right next to you. So I might miss that.
No, you're right. I never thought about that, but that's very, very true.
Interesting. When I spent time in other countries, I sort of missed eavesdropping on other people's conversations.
I mean, pros and cons, pros and cons. But
sometimes I enjoy listening to the wild stuff that people are talking about in public.
Also, I guess the last thing that I want to say that I'm going to miss is I think that Czechs, Europeans in general, they dress very nice usually.
Yes.
So I'm going to miss just seeing these people just well put together, fresh haircut, nice style, and just the beautiful women. I mean, today, let alone the attendant on my bus was gorgeous. She was this gorgeous blonde girl with these beautiful blue eyes, and I mean, just the quality of beautiful women here, it's unreal. And they're less, not all of them, but the ones that I've talked to, granted it's a small portion because these are the ones that speak English, they tend to be a lot more down to earth, I think, than if you see girls that beautiful in the States, A lot of times they kind of have this like facade and they're kind of fake and superficial. And I don't see that as much with pretty girls here in the Czech Republic.
I'm gonna leave that alone. When I was in,
It's true.
I agree with you with the dressing thing. When I was, I told you about that that play I went to. What was it called? It does. The Sincerity Project.
Mm-hmm.
It was at this. The venue was also like there was a bar area up there too, and people were at this bar, and I saw this one dude wearing gym shorts, and I was just like, ugh. I was like, you would never see this in Europe anywhere.
Nope.
Someone going to a bar
Or
wearing gym
sweatpants.
shorts. Yeah, it was just even in the U.S. it kind of blew my mind. I was like, "Really, bro? This is how you go out for your night on the town?"
Right. Oh, it's crazy.
I like that too. Like that people just care more about their appearance in general in Europe,
Yeah.
and I still kind of miss that all the time. All right, let's move on to the song of the pod. That was great, and I'm excited to talk to you, Chad, about your return to the U.S. in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I'm excited. But first, we're talking today about a song by Daniel Landa called Bila Hora, which means White Mountain.
Yes, and it's actually a site of a battle in the Hussite Wars, I think, and some war in Czech history.
Beats me. I'll take your word for it.
Well, that makes sense because the version you sent me, the YouTube version, doesn't work here in the U.S., so I had to find my own. But the
Sorry
one
about
I was, I mean, how would you know? The one I was, it's easy. I just typed it in and found another one. But the one I was looking at had a lot of like these pictures of like military people that look like they're from like the 18th century, that just popped up on the screen, and different like black and white pictures of like scenes and like military looking like strategy scenes. And I was like, what is going on with this music video?
Okay, there you go. I picked it for two reasons. One of my students told me about this artist, Daniel Landa. And
he seems very popular.
yeah. And it just, to me, this is also kind of the vibe you get is like a good, like kind of somber departure song in a way until the chorus hits when it's, more intense, where I feel like I don't understand all the words, but when I listen to it, I feel like I could put this on as like, it'd be like in a movie when you're like, you say goodbye to your friend or your lover or whatever, and you're parting ways, and this song is like rolling through the credits or something.
It's also like a very European sounding song. Like it doesn't sound, besides for the fact that he's speaking Czech, but it doesn't sound like American at all, even like from the melody or anything, at least to me. Like it just has a very European vibe to it. Oh yeah, it's the Battle of White Mountain is what it is, which happened in 1620. And it was a 30-year war. So there's some fun history for you guys.
Right.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. And it was very like, it was kind of intense too.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
But yeah, I liked it. And Daniel Landa seems like a generally intense guy, just by even seeing like thumbnails of other songs on the side.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so check that out on our Twitter page, Untranslatable1, or our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast.
You betcha.
And we hope you enjoy. So, now it's time for the Czech word of the pod, and I have one, and while I'm explaining mine, we're going to put poor David on the spot here and have him think of one as well. I'm sure he can think of one. He knows lots of Czech words. A lot more than I do. But my Czech word of the pod for today is určitě, which means certainly, because I just was so surprised last night, the reaction I got out of a couple of those Czech guys when I was talking to them, and I said určitě. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's good.
My word, I've learned a lot of words, but the one that stands out recently I learned on a school trip, and the word is hachi, which is a word for little kids, which basically means plop down. Like
Sit down, plop down.
Have a sit.
Okay. Hachi is also ichi ni san shigo roku shichi hachi kyu. It's also 8 in Japanese.
8?
Yep.
There
the
you
number
go.
8.
Interesting. Okay.
I have Spanish word. I'm going to give you 3 just because these are the 3 I learned from
Pulling
when
out
I was
the
watching
notebook,
The
I
Holy
like it.
Goalie. The first one, let's see if do you know any
Holy goalie.
Spanish, David?
Not a lot.
Okay. Chad knows a bit, so I'm always surprised at the ones that he does get. The first one is juego, Juego. Juego.
Play.
That's a song, isn't it? Like a popular song right now?
Maybe.
Oh, is it?
I have no idea, but juego means play.
Yeah, or game.
Or game, yeah.
Yep. And that's obviously makes sense why I got that from Holy Goalie. They were playing a game.
I love that name of that movie in English.
I think there's a popular song right now called Juego.
By, it's from 2018, El Juego by Maluma.
I think that's it.
Another one is Esperar. Esperar. Which is infinitive.
That's not to breathe, is it?
No. Esperar is to wait.
To wait, okay.
And one more I have. This one seemed useful. Como siempre.
Oh, just like always.
Look at you. Great. Yeah. They used it as like usual, but yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Good job, Chad.
I'm happy. 2 out of 3 is not bad. That's if you're a baseball player, that's a good day on the baseball field. That's for sure. Oh man, how to wrap up this episode with a quote? Well, I guess before I say a quote, I would just like to say that if any of our listeners out there, you have the opportunity to go abroad, first of all, do it. Whether it's for job, for study abroad, if you can do it, do it. Second,
for fun,
find yourself a David that is an awesome friend.
Pожалуйста.
We'll be there for you. We'll be there when you're at your weirdest, at your chillest, and all of your other ists. Find that person. And I have to say, I think the beauty of both of our experiences has not maybe been necessarily... I mean, the cultural learning has been great, but I really think it's been the connections we've been able to make.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing I think we've both learned has been from the people we've met through our connections, and has really made this entire experience so enriching.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would agree with all that. To close, first off, I want to say thank you. Thank you to you guys for allowing me to be on the podcast again. Second thing, if you go abroad, I've been fortunate enough to find such a good friend here abroad, and I think the connections you make with people last a lifetime. Last thing I want to say is something that a Czech person said to me recently. As I'm sure you've talked about before, it's always important to reflect on the fact that we are in a post-communist, socialist country. Mm-hmm. The fall of the Soviet Union and all that was only 30 years ago. And you still hear stories today of,
all the time,
of people who were not allowed to do things, who weren't allowed to couldn't travel, couldn't go to university, etc. And a Czech person told me recently, which I agree with this wholeheartedly, that the most important thing you can have is knowledge, because no one can take that away from you. Ooh, and I think this podcast and the friendships you make and your experiences abroad are a fantastic example of that.
So I'm going to steal that from my Camo David, my buddy David,
I think that's the quote right there.
The most powerful or most important thing you have is knowledge, because no one can take that away from you. We'll end on that, because that is powerful and fantastic. So we hope all of you have enjoyed this episode of our recap of David and my 10 months in the Czech Republic. It's been a life-changing experience for the both of us. I know that sounds incredibly cliche, but it is so very true.
Пожалуйста.
And exactly. And it has been a great time. We've learned a lot. We hope you all have been able to get a snapshot of what it's been like for us, and maybe help you make that decision if you are on the fence of coming to the Czech Republic. I would say do it. It's a great country. It's absolutely amazing. You will not be disappointed. So with that being said, please let us know what you thought on this episode by giving us 5-star reviews on iTunes or Stitcher. Also, check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. We have plenty of pictures up there, video clips as well that Jared so professionally does, which is fantastic. And also check out our website for more Untranslatables, untranslatablepodcast.com. And if you haven't already, check out our travel tips. Comes out every other Saturday. We just did one on Berlin, so hopefully that's helpful for all of you. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, děkujeme a muchas gracias.